Welcome back, everybody, to our Shero Spotlight, and I'm really excited to have this person today as a guest on the Shero Spotlight. I've been watching her for a while on Instagram, and she really touched my heart with all of her work with cats. And I'm not going to say exactly what she does with cats just yet. I'm going to let her talk about it. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about her. She is from New Jersey, and she's a disabled veteran, USMC. Wow. And she's involved in animal welfare and is breaking stereotypes by representing the lack of diversity that is in animal welfare. I think that's really interesting. She is also breaking stereotypes with the word and the phrase we've all heard, crazy cat lady, by showing that any person can work and know their limit and balance life in animal welfare. And when it comes to TNR, and I'm going to tell her to explain what TNR is in a minute. I know what it is because I've been involved in it, but some listeners might not know. She makes no excuses. She says, I make it happen, and I go above and beyond to TNR cats in my community through public transportation. That's interesting. She's also committed to doing her part in animal welfare as a community cat colony feeder. And that is really a committed effort if you've ever been involved in that. And she can talk about that too. I love her quote, if you feed them, you should fix them or learn how it's done. And that's so true. You've always heard people say, oh, wow, well, I just feed that cat, but it's not mine. I agree with her. If you feed it, it's yours. She is one of the most inspiring female trappers of her generation, and I'm so glad to introduce her to our show. Please welcome Trap Queen Jennifer Barnes.
Meow.
I was hoping you would give us a good meow. Well, it's really nice to meet you, Jennifer. And as I said in your bio and your intro, I've been watching you for a while, and I love all your videos, and I love all of your posts about cats. And I know you were recently involved with a cat named Cairo who got lost. You said you're not usually involved in rescue, but maybe we can touch on Cairo's story a little bit. So have you always been a cat lover?
No. I paused because I was brought up thinking that, not that I hated cats, but that I was allergic to cats.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my great aunt, who I called mom, who raised me most of my life since I was 7 months old, anytime I wanted a cat or a dog or any animal, she was like, you're allergic, you're allergic, you're allergic. And just, didn't allow us to have pets. So I grew up thinking that I was allergic to animals. Not that I hated animals, but I was allergic to them.
So they weren't really a fit for you then. You couldn't really have them as a pet. Well, what got you interested then in cats and then in trapping cats?
After my mom passed,
mm-hmm.
I used to live in Long Island, New York, and I moved to New Jersey.
Okay.
And I lived with my cousin. And my cousin got me into cats because she was like, you know what, you need a little brother. And I had siblings, but they were older and were on their own. Mm-hmm. So it was just me that was the minor. And she said, you need a little brother, I'm going to get you a cat. And his name was Smokey All Gray. And aww. I started liking cats, and I think I was 15 or 16 when that happened. And I didn't start getting into animal welfare until 2010. And I take it back to 2010 because I was just feeding cats. Didn't know anything about TNR or anything. I was even feeding squirrels. And that's when I learned that if you buy those peanut shells, they're usually $1, a big bag of them. If you have one of those peanut shells, a squirrel will come up to you. And, so I was feeding
take it right out of your hand, so to speak. Yeah.
I was feeding squirrels and cats in 2010.
Oh, that's hilarious. What a combo. And cats love to chase squirrels. Well, I've never seen one catch a squirrel, but
I know.
They're a little quick for a cat. So can you tell our listeners, for those people that don't really know what TNR is, can you tell them and why you think it's so vital to every community?
TNR stands for Trap, Neuter, Return. It is the only humane alternative to death for stray and feral cats. Basically, what TNR, when you TNR a cat, this is exactly what you do. You humanely trap the cat in a humane trap, cover the trap. Once you've set the trap and the cat is caught, you take the cat to a local spay and neuter clinic.
Mm-hmm.
They are either spayed or neutered. They recover for 1 to 2 days. Males get 24 hours. Females typically get 48 hours. Sometimes females get 72 hours, especially if they're pregnant, because
Right.
they may need an extra day to recover. Once you've seen them poop or pee and at least eat and drink some water, then you know, for the most part, they're good to go. You bring them back to where you found them, where you originally found them,
Yes.
and then you release them back to the feeder.
Yes. And, you know, as we talked for a few minutes, I've been involved in trapping, and I know the hard work of trapping cats and of making people sometimes understand the importance of trapping cats. And a lot of people, you know, think, well, if a cat's pregnant, you should just let them have the kittens. And of course, I don't necessarily agree with that, because there's all these animals that there's never going to be a home for all these animals. And so I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on that, because I think you're probably of that same philosophy.
I've been criticized for doing that, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But I've gotten confidence from my brother, one of my brothers, and he instilled in me, you know, you have to be confident when it comes to something you believe in. And I
Right.
believe in spay and abort.
Yeah.
I don't like to do it. I don't take pleasure in doing it, but I will do it. And I've done it so many times, because there was one time when I didn't. And it was a lot to take on, because I had to find a foster. And because I'm not a nonprofit yet or a rescue, shelter building type, I don't have that. I typically, when people foster, they want to know, well, where is this cat going? Because I'm just a foster. So I had to secure a rescue, a foster, then supply the foster with food, litter. And then, of course, I'm not going to just do it for their kittens. I'm not like that. My mother didn't raise me like that. So they had other animals in the house, and I helped their dogs. I'm like, I never bought dog food before. I was helping their dogs, their cats,
Yeah.
and it all worked out. And she lived in Jersey City. I live in Orange, New Jersey. So literally I took a picture, and I think it's on my Instagram page, I believe. It's like a cart filled with cat food and stuff. And
Right.
I'm at the bus station. Like, I literally had just came off of work and lugged all that on the train. I work in Patterson. So I lugged all that stuff on the train.
Have some of the clinics kind of shut down the operations of spay neuter there in your area? Because they did here in Nashville.
For about 3 months they did. But I have a group called, on Facebook, I have a group called We Are Friends of Ferals. It is a way for people to share their TNR experiences. They can even promote themselves, and just showcase their colony cats that they feed and their TNRs that they do. And one of my members in the group, they said, oh, there's a spay and neuter clinic, guys, that's open in Saddlebrook, New Jersey. And I'm like, really? I'm like, oh. So she put the name in the group, and I started going there. But they're a little bit more expensive than the typical spay and neuter place. But now my local spot that I mentioned on the Dodo, it's called People for Animals. They're now opening up now. But when I went to schedule my appointment online, their next available appointment was January of 2021.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, you know how many cats can get pregnant and procreate by then? So I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm just gonna have to go elsewhere. But I did find one that's really good. There's Saddlebrook Veterinarian, and then there is Twin Oaks Veterinarian. And
Okay.
it's $88. So they give me the rescue price since I am a rescuer.
That's good. I know the commitment it is to trap cats and all the moving parts of it. How when you do a trapping, how many cats are you trapping at a time, or does it really vary?
I'm not gonna lie, I have been overdoing it the past 3 months, and I've had to have some help
Mm-hmm.
um, with trapping and
Mm-hmm.
being able to transport, even
Yeah.
4 cats. But typically, I only do one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
The most I've done, like by myself, I think was 5 by
Yeah.
myself. And actually, my brother was supposed to come up last year and help me trap, and it didn't work out. So I ended up still having to trap those 5 cats. So
Yeah.
it's a project for 2 people,
Yeah.
but I ended up doing it by myself. So
Wow. I know
yeah.
I've done projects where I've had to I've done a trapping where I've had to monitor and transport multiple cats, and it's really tiring. It's a lot of work. I wanted to ask you about this because I thought this was so interesting in your bio. Tell me about breaking stereotypes by representing the lack of diversity in animal welfare. I think that's really interesting. And I wanted to hear what you had to say about that.
Well, the military and my brother even taught me that you're only as strong as your weakest link. He reminded me of that, and the military taught me that.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, um, the Black and the brown communities are the weakest link in animal welfare. So there is a lack of diversity in animal welfare. When you go to these conventions, you're not seeing a lot of Black feline guests. You see like a couple of men, because of course, men and cats,
It doesn't always seem like it goes. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, I hate to say this, but sex sells, even in animal welfare. Telling you, sex sells. I mean, the men, you're good looking, you got a cat, please, it's a wrap. You can take off. But there's not a lot of Black female feline guests, and
Mm-hmm.
you may see a couple of vendors, but not Black female feline guests. But there is a lack of diversity just by when you go to these conventions, and you don't see a lot of people of color. So
Why do you
that's
think that
what's
is? Why do you think that is?
well, the reason why there is a lack of diversity in animal welfare, there's a few reasons, but mainly it's the money.
Mm-hmm.
And with all, because it's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And we typically, if you do your research last year, the poverty level was, I think, at 21% for Black people.
Mm-hmm.
And compared to white people that are the race that's predominantly in animal welfare.
Mm-hmm.
Also, with all of the injustice that the Black community is facing, we have other things on our minds, like
Right.
what about humanity,
Right.
And like if I don't get a lot of support from my community, the Black community, but if I was to turn it around and instead of trapping cats, I was feeding the homeless, doing this, doing that,
Mm-hmm.
I would get more support from my people. I
Sure.
would. So
Sure. Well, I feel like my experience with trapping cats, and I did a lot of cat trapping in diverse parts of Nashville, and it was really interesting because people really loved those cats and they didn't know how to help them. And one of the programs I was involved in was through Pet Community, was called Pets for Life, and it was a program where people had they were keeping cats, they were feral cats, and there was one lady we helped, and there must have been 25 cats. And she just
mhm.
had no idea how she was going to deal with it. So we were able to take in food, and, it took us 3 weeks, but we finally caught all those cats and had them fixed. But I really felt like it builds such a community when people find out that they're respected because they love their animals. And so that made me feel good about trapping cats. That was one of the most fulfilling parts of cat trapping for me, was how I saw it help people's attitude and their pride of being an animal lover. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So So I loved that part of that, the cat trapping experience. So let me ask you this. What is your power word or your power phrase?
When it comes to animal welfare, I don't make excuses. I make it happen. And I got that from my brother, actually.
I love that.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so many versions of a trap queen, and mine represents diversity, change, and breaking stereotypes. Absolutely impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, to me, anybody can be trap queen, but they can't be this one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the way I walk, it's the way I talk, it's what I do. You know, and my brother was calling me trap queen for a minute, and he actually inspired me to continue to call myself that. So without my brother, you know, I wouldn't be where I'm at and beating kind of right now. You know what I'm saying? But I love him. Shout out to my brother.
Well, I always ask my guests to finish this sentence. The number one thing I'm most grateful for today is
Being alive. Being alive.
You're putting out so many good vibes up there in Orange, New Jersey, Jennifer. I just think it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. Now, let me ask you, can you tell the listeners where they can make donations to you or how they can find you online if they want to follow you and see what you're doing?
Well, I have an Instagram page. It's Jennifer_Trap Queen.
Okay.
I also have a public Facebook page, and it's called Jennifer Barnes Trap Queen. So,
Okay.
you know. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Well, thank you so much for all you're doing, Jennifer. And I know our listeners really enjoyed hearing all of your stories and your dreams for your nonprofit and for teaching people how to be kind to animals. That's the bottom line. And spaying and neutering to me is the kindest thing you can do. I want to thank Jennifer Barnes, Trap Queen, for being here. Everybody stick around. We're going to be right back.